This is Shirley with Shirley's Biblical Kitchen, and I want to welcome you here today. I've got a really special show for fall of the year. You know, we all like our pumpkins and sweet potatoes, so I'm going to be doing some of those recipes. And one we're doing today is an Einkorn pumpkin loaf. So I think you're going to like this show. As we know, I like to use Einkorn. This is a bought Einkorn flour. It's called AP, all-purpose Einkorn. And all-purpose Einkorn, you can buy it in so many places now, so it's pretty readily available, so you don't have to mill your own. But it's only had about 20% of the bran and germ removed, so you still have 80%. It makes a lighter, fluffier product, even though I often will use whole grain and mill my own. I think you could do that with this recipe, but I have not tried it. But you're going to like this. I put in some spices like cloves and cinnamon and ginger and nutmeg that we like. You could change those up however you like them. If you don't like one spice, maybe leave it out and put a little more of one you do like. We're going to use 1 cup of pumpkin. Now this is the just pure pumpkin. It doesn't have anything in it. Just read your can, just plain old pumpkin. A cup of that. In grams is 230 grams. We have 3/4 cup of brown sugar and it's 175 grams. I will print the ingredient list in this video for you so you can just screenshot it and you'll have it. And then I'm going to use 3 eggs. These are large eggs. We have a 1/2 cup of olive oil. So I've got those. These are kind of what I'd call our wet ingredients. The bread is a quick bread, so it's really mixing your wet and your dry. I'm going to cream our brown sugar with our eggs and get them really, really creamy. We're going to add in our pumpkin and our oil. And I'm going to mix them in one at a time. We'll set this aside, and we've got 300 grams of AP flour. Now the AP flour, as I said, was bought. So you have to, if you're not using grams, be sure you shuffle your flour, lighten it up with a fork or something, and then just shuffle it into your cup. Don't overpack it. But if you use grams, that's going to be the most accurate. So 300 grams. We have 1 tablespoon potato starch. You could use tapioca powder if you wanted to. I like potato starch, so it's just easy. Does it taste like potatoes? It makes your texture of your bread and cakes a lot better. We have a teaspoon of baking soda, not powder, baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon of red salt or mineral salt. You want the minerals in there, not coarse salt. You know, you want to find salt. We're going to whisk these together. Then we'll add our spices. Now the spices are cinnamon. We've got a teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger. These are all ground. 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, and just 1/4 teaspoon or even less of the nutmeg. Depends on how much nutmeg you like. If you'll do the fresh ground, that's going to be your best. Always. I don't know, there's something about nutmeg when you buy the powder. It doesn't taste as good. You need to use it fresh. I buy the little fresh nutmegs and keep them in a bag in the freezer, and they'll keep a long, long time. So I've always got them on hand. So we'll add in our spices here, and then we'll blend those up. And then we'll just throw them into here. We don't want to use the mixer. We don't want to build gluten, even though Einkorn is a weaker gluten. It's a very healthy flour. It's the oldest grain. It's dated back to 5,000 years at least. And it has not been hybridized. So it's the original wheat that God put on the earth. Humans have not messed with it. So we'll add the dry into the wet, and we'll just stir them until they're blended. Quick breads are just so simple to make. Once you get your dry ingredients measured and your wet, there's really nothing to them. They're very, very, very simple. Muffins are easy. They're a quick bread. That's why I like to just make a double batch though and just freeze it, because they freeze well too. Okay, we're ready to put our batter into our pan. And I've got about a 10 by 5-inch pan. I've greased it well and lined it in parchment and put clippies so the parchment would stay out of my way as I put the batter in. And then once we get the batter in, we're going to put this topping. We make this with about a cup of chopped pecans up to a 1.5 cups and 1/2 cup of sugar. And I've used a raw cane sugar, you know, the raw sugar in the raw. And so it's a little crunchier, which is what I want for this. This will go on top of our batter. So, let me say something about this batter. when you start to put it in, if you kind of spoon it around and you see little white clumps of flour or little bitty small pieces of flour, whip it up some more. Just whip it up until those are kind of gone, because you want that really flour well mixed in. Then we'll pour it into our pan. This smells good already, and we haven't even baked it. Just a lot of cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. They're just ginger. Wonderful, wonderful pumpkin fall spices. And of course your pumpkin. I love to bake pumpkin and sweet potato things in the fall, and apple, and just reminds me of fall leaves, and just the sounds and smell of fall is what it reminds me of. I think most people like those things fall of the year. I don't want pumpkin bread much in the middle of the summer, but you might. You do, that's great. Now when you spread this out in your pan, spread it out so the ends are even. You don't want these little pocket holes in the end. You want to spread that down there really well. Then we're going to spoon our nut sugar sort of crumble topping over the top. Now you can make this up weeks on ahead. Keep it on hand. I keep it in a jar, the lid on it. You can freeze it to keep it longer. Or you have it already ready made up. Just make up some extra, and you'll have it when you get ready to make your pumpkin bread. That looks really good. My oven is preheated to 350, and I'm going to bake it 40 to 45 minutes. I'll check it at 40. I'll check it every 5 minutes thereafter until a toothpick comes out clean. And when you stick it in the center, you want it to be pretty clean. Okay, we have our pumpkin bread out of the oven, and it just looks, it's still warm, but I'll cut it in a little bit. I have drizzled some icing. Just take powdered sugar. I use maybe a cup, maybe a cup and a half. I didn't measure it. But just like you make a glaze, you put just drizzles of water in it. And I mean drizzles, because you add too much water, it'll be too runny. And you want it to be about this consistency, where it would just pour off your spoon, but it's not just, it's pretty thin, but it still has a little body. If you get it too thin, it's too wet, it soaks into your cake, it makes it soggy. Just have it thick enough where you can drizzle it on, and I use a spoon. Just drizzle it on. I've already drizzled some on, but I'll just do a little more here with my spoon. I always just use a spoon. And then when you want it to run down the sides, and you do want that, just kind of go along the edge, just with a little bit of icing, and it'll run down the sides. It's like it kind of really drizzled pretty heavily on the sides. And then when you cut into it, it's going to taste delicious. Just really delicious. And this bread's still warm. If you wait till it's too cold, it won't drizzle down the sides as well. It'll just kind of sit on the top. So this has been out of the oven maybe 10 minutes at the most. And I started putting drizzle on pretty fast. So I'm okay with that. I like it pretty heavily drizzled. One, it makes it look pretty, but it also gives it that little extra sweetness, I guess. So there's our pumpkin bread. Don't want to knock it off here. It's wonderful, wonderful sugar and spice and everything nice with all those. Pumpkin bread is always, it may be good fresh, but to me, it's always better the next day. So I really would prefer to cut this tomorrow. I would just, when it got completely cool, I just put some saran wrap on it till tomorrow. But I want to cut it for you so you can see what the inside looks like. Said it's still pretty warm. Turn that around. And you can see the inside is just real soft and just beautiful bread. I'll hold this piece up here for you too. It's wonderful bread. I'm going to break that in half and eat a piece. Turn this around a little more. You can see this tray here better. Wonderful, wonderful bread. Those pecans on top are toasted, and they just make it perfect. And I taste the cloves and the cinnamon and the ginger and the nutmeg. It's just perfect, perfect bread. And it's all made with AP einkorn, so you're getting some nutrition, and your pumpkin has a lot of nutrition too. Nuts even have a lot of nutrition. take the sugar out, we'd have a real healthy thing, wouldn't we? But it's pretty healthy anyway. If you have not to try this, you're absolutely going to love it. Let me know what you think. We'll see you on the next show.